The narrative opens on a dreary night, on a desolate stretch of New York Road. A man, a toll collector, is on the graveyard shift. With a handsome yet stony face, he stares blankly into the surroundings. The glow of the streetlights and the passing vehicles hold no apparent interest for him. He's merely serving out his time. Finally, the shift concludes. He begins his walk home with the same impassive demeanor. Arriving at his apartment, his wife serves him breakfast, and they exchange detached greetings. Her expression is just as cold as his. She calls his name. "Henry, do you still love me?" "Of course I do," he replies, without the slightest change in his expression. Their conversation reveals that his wife, Debbie, longs for a child, but Henry, despite professing a love for kids, has no desire to have one of his own. The doorbell rings. Debbie shows no interest in who's at the door, as she still hasn't received a satisfying answer from Henry. Henry opens it to find Eddie. It appears they were once friends. Another man, Joe, is with him, lying on the ground, vomiting. They help get him inside. Eddie explains they were supposed to play baseball, but Joe's condition has put their game on hold. He invites Henry to fill in for their now incapacitated player. But this was not a simple baseball game. They drive away, and when Henry asks about the game, Eddie quickly deflects, suggesting they stop at the next bank ATM for beer money. Besides Eddie and Henry, 2 other men are in the car. When they arrive at the bank, Eddie instructs Henry to stay in the car with the engine running. As they leave, Henry notices the car is hot-wired. The engine wires are connected directly. Did Eddie steal the car? Was a bank robbery about to happen? Yes. Eddie and his crew enter the bank to rob it, but their lack of preparation is obvious, and the security alarm immediately sounds. As bank employees scatter and Henry's car starts, a security guard draws his weapon. Henry, utterly bewildered, politely raises his hands in surrender. The innocent Henry is arrested for a crime he had no part in. During interrogation, Henry is pressed to name his accomplices, but he refuses to give any names. Perhaps he is fiercely loyal, or maybe he truly only knows Eddie. We next see Henry in court, where a judge sentences him to 3 years in prison for robbery. Our quiet and unassuming protagonist accepts the verdict without protest. To him, a cell is no different from his home. He is content with it. He's placed in a cell with Max Kahn, a man who appears to be in good spirits. They introduce themselves and explain their reasons for being locked up. Max, around 50 years old, is a seasoned and comfortable presence in the prison. They quickly become friends. On their first night at dinner, Max explains the rules of prison life and introduces Henry to the other terrible prisoners. During their talk, Max shares his philosophy: the real crime is not committing to your dreams. He asks Henry about his dreams, but Henry claims to be oblivious, doubting he has ever had one. Max finds this strange, wondering what life could be like without aspirations. Max, a truly remarkable person, plants an idea in Henry's mind that will change his life forever. For a person to find their purpose, they must first have a dream. The film then jumps 6 months into the future. Debbie visits Henry in jail. They still maintain the same chilly demeanor as before. Debbie is there to inform Henry that she has decided to marry Joe. Yes, the same guy who was vomiting at the start and participated in the robbery. Henry simply smiles and offers his congratulations. Another year passes. Henry seems to have adapted to prison life. Max is with other inmates, sharing stories as they shave, but Henry has grown a beard, perhaps a sign of grief over losing his wife. Yet, we know our Henry, he's not the type to take anything to heart. Henry is now up for parole, though he shows no sign of excitement. He says his goodbyes to Max in their cell and walks out. Seemingly unsure of where to go, he heads to Debbie's old home. Joe answers the door, acting completely at ease, treating Henry like a guest in the house he used to live in. The woman who was once his wife now serves him a beer with a calm indifference. To Henry's surprise, she is pregnant. Joe thanks Henry for not revealing his identity to the police during the robbery. Henry responds with a cynical laugh, explaining he genuinely had no idea what Joe's name was. Now homeless and jobless, Henry remembers Max's philosophy: if you do the time, you might as well commit the crime. He finds himself standing in front of the very bank he was once imprisoned for robbing. A car suddenly hits him in the hip. This scene introduces Julie Avenova, a local actress known for her Buffalo TV commercials, currently starring in The Cherry Orchard at a local theater. Julie is kind and caring. She yells at Henry for being in the way while simultaneously checking if he's okay, clearly trying to avoid a lawsuit. Frank, the security guard who arrested Henry, now works as an assistant. As they walk to a cafe so Julie can buy Henry a coffee before her rehearsal, Frank recognizes him as the old bank robber. In the cafe, Henry recalls seeing Julie in the Buffalo TV ad. Something tells him that Frank isn't quite the same person he was before. Julie and Frank finish their coffee, and Henry heads to the bathroom. While using the cafe's restroom, Henry notices an old newspaper article on the wall. It details a secret from the Prohibition era. A hidden tunnel once connected the theater where Julie is rehearsing to a nearby bank vault. As he reads, a thought forms. This is his chance to finally commit a crime of his own. First, Henry visits the prison to inform Max that he has at last found his dream. Max is bewildered and surprised, questioning what kind of dream involves robbing a bank and then telling someone in prison about it. He immediately rejects the idea, arguing that prison is his home and he won't get out just to rob a bank. Henry counters that he can't spend his entire life there and die in misery. He tries to convince Max to help him break into the vault. Henry's passion wins him over, and the two friends end up sharing a flat in Buffalo. They return to the cafe where Henry saw the article, and Max notices the map is 80 years old. Because the bank structure has likely changed, they need to verify the information. They first go to the bank, where Max's conman skills help him confirm the tunnel still exists. Then they head to the theater, with Max pretending to be a former performer from 30 years ago. Henry introduces him to Julie, and with her help, Max gets a full tour. He confides in a manager who knows about the tunnel. The manager reveals it's now sealed and that one of the performers, Lopkan, has a dressing room right above it. In the performance auditorium, Henry asks Julie on a date. He tells her his story, and they set a date for Chinese food, marking the beginning of their romantic relationship. They go out and have a wonderful time. Our once emotionless wooden boy is clearly feeling a sweet connection with Julie. Max decides they must access the dressing room. He offers his help and also convinces one of the performers to leave the play so Henry can take the role. That's right. Our hero will now play an actor in the cherry orchard as a means to break into the vault. They manage to persuade the temperamental director, who spends most of the film lecturing Julie on her acting. It's unclear what he has against our likable Julie. Max believes Henry is a natural actor, convinced that getting past Lopkan will be no problem. And sure enough, Henry proves himself. To put it plainly, Henry and Max get in. They smash through the dressing room wall where the tunnel is, only to find it's filled with sand. They need a third person to help them dig. They find Joe at a tavern, dissatisfied with his job. Henry offers him assistance and a role. The three begin digging. Max and Joe do the constant digging in the tunnel, while Henry must also attend rehearsals. The routine goes smoothly until one night, Frank interrupts them. He tells them he has been watching them around the bank. They attempt to lie, but Frank says he knows their plan and wants in. He chooses to be their inside man, informing them that a monthly currency exchange will bring in millions of dollars. A one-time deal because he's retiring. Frank's reason for joining is heartbreaking. The bank denied him a loan when his wife was dying. So they enlist him. But the crew isn't finished yet. Joe, who was drunk, brings in another guy one night. He wants a share but refuses to dig. Max is furious, but they have no choice but to bring him on as well. During a practice, Julie becomes agitated and runs to her room after the director accuses her of not performing with enough emotion. Henry, our sweet-natured guy, goes to console her. It's then that he tells her he plans to leave during the opening night of the show. Since Henry is now a significant character, the play can't start without him, which makes Julie even more upset. She yells at him and tells him to leave her alone. Henry plans to break into the vault during the play's opening night. He'll assist the crew during intermissions so no one will notice. Eddie's part is to use welding equipment to enter the vault. It's unclear how they plan to get in otherwise, but Eddie, for all his faults, is the only one who knows how to enter a vault and use the necessary machinery. Finally, with Eddie's help, they reach the vault. Meanwhile, Henry is acting in the play, but he stays informed during intermissions. They load the cash into sacks and take them to Lopkan's room. In the room, Eddie reverts to his old, unreliable self, threatening Max with a revolver and telling Joe to take the money to the car. He plans to take all the cash for himself. But our clever con man shows his strength, punching Eddie to the ground. The three of them put the cash in the car and drive off. Henry asks the driver to pull over so he can stop and think. He realizes how much he wants to stay with the woman he loves. He rushes back into the theater where Julie is performing in the final scene of the cherry orchard. He storms in and confesses his eternal love, asking Julie to meet him in Moscow. They share their final kiss and it's over. Henry's crime isn't about money, it's about his feelings and the connection between those feelings and self-realization. Henry lacked direction and lived a miserable life in a wretched marriage, but then he felt compelled to commit this crime. Perhaps it was something that brought him excitement. Henry is a risk-taker, and when he met Julie and began to develop feelings for her, his life began to change. According to Julie, this play is about being forced to leave the past behind and start over in order to survive. Henry is going to start a new life with Julie. If you enjoyed the recap, please leave a like and subscribe, and don't forget to turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.